How's it going? My name is Lee. I work for a company called Central Minnesota Renovations, and I'm a door knocker. I kind of came to this idea of what can I do on top of my day-to-day routine of working to add some type of secondary incentive to my day-to-day work, because some of you probably know this if you've ever worked in sales or door knocking. Some days are really good, some days are really shitty, and some days are kind of meh in between. And the further you go from getting a sale, the more the meh in between days start to feel like shitty days. And I continued driving home after, long days of work and long days of knocking, feeling like shit, feeling like I didn't produce, and therefore that makes me a failure. And I wanted to get away from that feeling, and I can get away from that feeling in other methods, but I wanted to try something out. And it's kind of like taking an inventory, going through, how my day went with knocking, and then making a video about it and kind of breaking down what actually went down that day. And in doing so, it's my belief that, one, when I'm going up to a door, and again, a thing about door knocking is that it's probably the easiest but hardest job you'll ever do. It's easy in the sense that you're just talking to people, but it's hard because you have to talk to people. And I'm okay with, I don't know. I've been able to kind of fight through that this year and previous years, but I wanted to add something, another layer to it. And I feel like in talking to people, there's so many opportunities of content, of stories, of, interesting interactions that you don't get through any other job but this job. And so I wanted to put that out to you, the people, because I think it's interesting. And if there's any type of person online that this video or type of content can help or entertain or be of value to, that's the important thing. And for me, it's just the ability to write down my experience. So today was it's Saturday. I live in Minnesota, so you can obviously assume that I'm a novice because, well, that just happened. But on top of that just happening, I recorded probably about 10 minutes of monologuing and talking about my day, and I wasn't even recording. So bear with me on the very abrasive content. We'll take steps to get better as we continue on making videos. But I was going to say that today is Friday, and it is very sunny in Minnesota, and I decided to go out knocking because one, it's my job, and also two, weekends can always work in your favor because majority of people are in a better mood, majority of people are outside, majority of people are home, and so with it being Friday and also a longer weekend because of Juneteenth being a holiday, it was a good opportunity, especially because after all the personal stuff that I had to go through today and get done, I had the time, and so it should be spent working. Only 16 doors were left in my territory that I had not hit, and so I wanted to accomplish hitting those today. My mindset was really good, clear, focused, and I was able to drive out there not really having any anxiety and not really caring about the results, but mainly just getting out there and doing it. And whenever I have that headspace going into the work area, things always go better no matter what. So let's break down what happened today and the interactions that took place. I wrote down 4 interactions, but I actually believe it was 5 interactions, so let me change that. So we had one homeowner that was working with a competitor. We had one homeowner that was just straight up not interested. And then we had 2 homeowners that were not interested, but not because they didn't like what I had to offer, but it was because they have just recently gone through the process and they had newer windows. So starting with the first interaction, which was the homeowner that was not working, or that was working with another contractor. So I get up to this door. It was like my second door, I think, of the day. Immediately dogs barking, which, I have some stories about dogs and door knocking, but it was totally fine. Knock the door, gentleman comes to the door, and he steps outside and he closes the door. Now, when you're approaching somebody's house and you're trying to sell them something, or, offer something, and they walk out and they intently, they intently separate themselves from the confines of their house, that is a really good sign, for the most part. And the reason I say that is because the comfort of their own house, they step out of that, and on top of that, they block all distractions, and they are actually going to listen to what you have to say. And that was the case here. I got off my entire pitch. The guy was shaking his head and listening intently. And at the end of it, he was like, I'm sorry, I'm actually going through the process right now with a competitor of ours, and, we're good. But again, really good, solid interaction, first interaction, and I appreciated it, right? It kind of just got, all the, woes out of my system. So following that up, knocked a few more doors, a lot of no answers, nobody was home. And then I get to a door of another lady who had some work done with her windows, but some of the windows we could work with. And so I get to her door. Now, this is the juxtaposition of exactly what I talked about, a homeowner stepping out and talking to you outside their house. So knock her door, she comes to the door, and this lady was probably like 62, 64, 5, something like that. She had really gray hair. So she steps outside, and immediately she says, do you have a business card? And honestly, that's never really happened to where they don't even know why I'm there yet, and they ask for a business card. And I have some thoughts on why that was what it was. So I say, yes, of course, here's my business card. And then I start going into my pitch. Well, in going into my pitch, the response that she was having as I was giving my pitch was, shaking her head, very negatively, not wanting to hear what I had to say. Didn't really think or look like she was listening to me intently. And when I got done with the pitch, she was like, nope, don't care, not interested. And I wish I could go back and say, why'd you take my card if, you weren't interested, right? And my thought on this is because, she's one of those maybe neighborhood Karens, right, that goes on Facebook and says, look out for this company, they're working in our area. Because for whatever reason, and, I know some of the reasons, homeowners do not like door knockers. They do not like their peace being disturbed. However, my counter to that is that if I'm able to provide an offer to you that can substantially increase the value of your home, and it can substantially, increase not only the value, but the performance of a very pivotal asset on the house, and it doesn't really cost you a lot of money, you'd probably want to hear that out. But I get it. It's a slight inconvenience, and slight inconvenience nowadays are very, very egregiously felt and taken. So whatever, though. Get through that. Knock around, and then we get to maybe, door 10, and somebody comes to the door. They just recently got their windows replaced. And so fair enough, we can't even provide the service I want to provide with these types of windows since they've been recently replaced. So that was cool. And then the same was to be said for the last homeowner I did speak to today. So again, not a lot of doors knocked, not a lot of interaction, therefore not a lot of stories to tell today. However, I'm glad that I went out. I'm glad that, I talked to some people, and I'm proud of that fact. And that's what you have to do in this industry. You have to be able to take the wins where you don't find wins. And of course, a win is a sale, a win is a contract, a win is a really good interaction that has potential, right? And a failure would be nothing. But again, you went out, you did what you said you were going to do, and you should hang your head high on that and build off that for the next time you do go out. And so that's my intention going here forth from today. So yeah, that's kind of it. Again, I recorded this portion and I wasn't recording, and so I'm sorry that, you know, I thought that my first video was a lot better than this one. But all that being said, this is always, you know, this is just the first video, so more to come. Better editing, better content. Papa John's not always playing, but I think that this is going to help me a lot. Just, you know, really navigate my day, look back on and maybe think of these stories on where I could have been better and what I could have said different. And again, you know, help other people that are in the same industry, because again, it's one of the easiest jobs you'll ever do, but it's one of the most difficult jobs you'll ever do. And you're not alone in that feeling. And that can be for any job too, not just sales or not just door knocking. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment. I'd really love to hear what your experiences have been in sales. Drop a like, obviously, if you enjoyed what you heard today, and if you want to hear more. And subscribe, because I plan on doing this pretty routinely whenever I do go out and knock, to give myself some time to break down what that day actually was and what I interacted with that day. And I hope to just continue growing alongside each and every one of you. And yeah, so we'll take it from there. All right, I'm grateful. I'm really grateful for today. All right, we'll talk soon. Later.